Sheikh Rached actually recorded this video the day he was arrested, because he heard he was going to be arrested that day. So just this was his last message before his arrest. And that's why we wanted you to see it. So I'm pleased to welcome Mr. Ahmed Gaaloul. He is here on behalf of Sheikh Rached. We had actually invited Sheikh Rached to speak at this conference before his arrest. And he confirmed that he was going to participate before he was arrested, but unfortunately, of course, he is no longer able to confirm or to attend. So we invited Mr. Ahmed Gaaloul. He's a member of the executive committee of Ennahda. He's an advisor to Sheikh Rached, and he's going to read the speech on behalf of Sheikh Rached. Hopefully it will not be long, and we will be able to finish in the next 10-15 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, it's been a long day, and I hope I will not be long with you. Actually, this video, Sheikh Rached, convinced that he's going to be arrested, so he's decided to prepare this message, and for this message to be published after his arrest. However, there is another statement which I do think is very important and vital, which Sheikh Rached has made. And that statement he's made during the gathering of the Salvation Front on the 25th of Ramadan, where he's made what I would describe a radical step forward in his thinking. So the question, and I think that this was the actual reason why he's been arrested. Sheikh Rached right now he's in prison. When he's visited by his lawyers, he's quite happy. He's reading books and he's writing. One statement he said to his lawyer that he was embarrassed that he is free while other defenders of democracy and freedom are in prison. So he considered that his imprisonment is actually a positive thing that happened to him, that happened for someone who is like him, defending core values of freedom and democracy. I will not really, extend a lot because we do not have much time, but let me say two core values of what Sheikh Rached Ghannouchi is defending. He defends what he calls the historical reconciliation between the two extremes or two fractions of the Arab Muslim belief, that is a reconciliation between secular laik and Islamist. This idea is started with Mr. Ghannouchi discussion during the 90s when we were together in London. The second conciliation which Sheikh Rached Ghannouchi calls for is the historical reconciliation between what he calls Bourguiba and Thalbi, meaning, Bourguiba as a modernist and Thalbi as as a Muslim democrat, because Thalbi comes from this reformist school from which comes Ibn Abi Dhiyaf and Khairuddin, and we need to add to him Tahir ibn Ashur and Khidr Hussein. Sheikh Rached Ghannouchi and his colleagues, his parties, have made a reconciliation with the Zaytuna elite. And this is very important because when we read, for example, Tahir ibn Ashur in his Usul Nizam Ijtimai fil Islam, the foundation of the social system in Islam, he speaks about democracy. Khidr Hussein speaks about freedom in Islam, meaning freedom in the public sphere in Islam. So these ideas, the concept of a consensual democracy, the concept of Muslim democrats are quite, deep in the thoughts of Mr. Ghannouchi. When he came back to Tunisia, he's worked into the implementation of these thoughts. That is why the coalition of 2012, after the elections, was not a coalition between Islamists and other Islamists. It was possible for Ennahda to make a coalition with the second parliamentary group, which presents itself as Islamic. But it was Mr. Ghannouchi who pushed everyone to make a coalition with Mu'taman al-Jumhuriyya, who was a Laik party or Laik parliamentary group, and Takatul, who is a socialist parliamentary group. And the second section of these coalitions is of these reconciliations is with the coalition with Nida Tunis. So these are the two pillars of the thoughts of Mr. Ghannouchi. I will jump really to the last part of this presentation. On the 25th of Ramadan, Mr. Ghannouchi was speaking on the night of Gathering of Salvation Front. He was showing or pointing to an image in which there were all the political elite which were imprisoned by CSID, Khayyam al-Turki, Jawhar bin Barak, Shayma Isa, Shawashi, Rached Shawashi, and so on. These elite are from across the borders, ideological borders, from the liberals to the extreme left, if you could say. Rida al-Hajj, who was the head of the administration of Beji Qais Sibsi, he was pointing to them and saying that these people are the exemplification of the success of the political Tunisian elite of overcoming a historical hurdle through which most of the Arab elite are still suffering from. And this hurdle is that you identify yourself with the others who is different from you on the basis of ideology. He is saying these elite are gathered solely and only for the defense of freedom and democracy. He said that there should be another image, and this image we should see in it Ben Ali, Suriati, and others. Those who are part of what he describes as the counter-revolution people. And then he asks where CSID stands. Is he part of the revolution or is he part of the counter-revolution? He said CSID is part of the counter-revolution because he's putting those who are defending freedom and democracy in prison. And he said is there a middle space between revolution and counter-revolution? He said no, there is no middle space between revolution and counter-revolution, because the revolution, when it came during the time of Ben Ali, it came from outside the system. It did not come from inside the system. And even those parties, official political parties during the time of Ben Ali who had, but democracy, revolution came from outside the system. My view is that by saying that, and this separation, it was possible for Ghannouchi to say, well, I am with CSID, as Dr. Monica Marx was saying, CSID is more Islamist, if you could say, than Nahdha himself. So he's an Islamist. And he said it to us. Sheikh Rached told us that the Article 5 of CSID's constitution is like a bribery. We should not accept it. And we should not accept bribery. And this Article 5 states that the state is the sole representative or authority that deals with the maqasid al-sharia, or maqasid al-din. He doesn't say maqasid, he said maqasid al-din. So he said this is a bribery and we do not accept the bribery. So here we have a clear differentiation from Rached Ghannouchi, who defends the idea of Muslim Democrats, that he, as a Muslim Democrat, would fight for democracy on the basis of those who are fighting for these values, not on the basis of those who are of their, beliefs or ideological background. And this what encourages Mr. Ghannouchi to say what he just said in his message. And he was quite sure that he is going to prison. I would not say that someone like him, his age is about 81, 82, is happy to be in prison, but fighting for these values made him younger, and he's actually stated that I feel young. I mean, one of his lawyers, when visited him, he said, I feel younger. I have regained my youth. I've read more than four books. It was after 2 weeks, and I've started reading. So I will go to what I would call the conclusion of this. I mean, it's quite a lengthy paper I've prepared, but the time is, it's not good right now to extend on it. But I would say, and I would describe myself as a student of Mr. Ghannouchi, of Sheikh Rached. I've been with him since 1994. I've been with him in London, and I've been with him in Tunisia. I've been with him with all the circles of debate, whether with Islamists, with secular, or with Arab nationalists. We've had our own circle, halaqah, where we've been discussing ideas and ideas. These ideas which have been extended during all this day, I have seen them, witnessed them developing. And it is quite amazing to see the fruit, how this is evolving. I have asked Mr. Ghannouchi after the coup last year, before I left Tunisia. I mean, I told him, well, we are not really sure about the international community. He said, no, Ahmed, I do believe that there are people in the West who are really defending these values, who are really defending the values of democracy and freedom, and those people will stand by us. So we need to keep believing in these values and defending them. We are defending these values because we believe in them, not because they allow us to get in power. I've had one last year from our friends, Arab friends, who told us, listen, Mr. Gaaloul, you've been lecturing us, you Tunisians, for 10 years about democracy, and you have faith. The only alternative we can see right now is what is happening in Afghanistan. But the answer is this: we are defending the values of democracy and freedom because we do believe in them, not because they allow us to get in power, or because these values are propagated by the West. We will continue our struggle for the right of our people and nations in a free democratic world. We believe that Islam, and I will not say Islamism, we believe that Islam is indeed a very efficient agent in advocating and implementing democratic value. When describing what happened in Tunisia, Sheikh Rached tells us and told us, I mean, history has its dynamic and momentum. And revolutions, when they start, they will not stop. What is happening in Tunisia, it is just a downturn which we will overcome definitely. It will actually be a variable or an agent which will enable us to strengthen the democratic process and to strengthen us so that we can defend better democratic values and freedom. We are very patient. So we are not in a rush. We know that CSID will not last, but we do not want this change to be costly on our people and on our nations. We can see what is happening in our neighboring countries, what is happening in Iraq, what is happening in Yemen, what is happening in Syria, what is happening in Libya. We do not want Tunisians to go through all this struggle, all this pain, all this bloodshed. So we will continue our peaceful resistance, our peaceful opposition to this coup, and we need to be patient until the time comes for a real change. Values are essential and vital foundations for power and authority. all of us can see that liberal democratic values are going through a crisis in the world right now. There is someone from the Arab world who is ready to go to prison in his late age just to defend these values. And this is what gives power to the ideas and values of Mr. Rached Ghannouchi. Right now, we are faced, Nahda, students of Rached Ghannouchi, and the Salvation Front, we are faced by this argument that Islamists are not good for democracy, so we need to deal with the Arab world differently. And the other argument from Islamists who are saying, you are defending democracy and democracy does not work for you, does not work. There are no democrats, no real democracy in this world. By going, and I will insist on the term of going to prison, Rached Ghannouchi is giving legitimacy to these values, that these values are not just pragmatic values, are not values which has no religious, weight, no. These values are inherently part of our perception of Islam. And because we are Muslims, we are defending democracy. When we describe ourselves as Muslim Democrats, we are discerning within the Muslim spheres between Muslims who are Democrats and Muslims who are not Democrats. And we say that we are unified with people when dealing with the public sphere according to their acceptance of democracy and freedom. That is why the future, as we see it, and as Mr. Ghannouchi said it, and as he stated in his short video, is that we need to work within a front. And this front is a gathering on the basis of the values of democracy and freedom. What the international community could do, we cannot ask the international community what they can do. They know what they need to do. But I think it is important for the international community to listen for this voice which comes from this small country which is called Tunisia. It is apparent that what happens in Tunisia has really an effect outside. But Mr. Ghannouchi insists on this idea that we are presenting ourselves for our people in Tunisia. We are not trying to come for a change or for humanity, no. We are humble, we are working for Tunisia. Those who would like to see in what we are doing an example where they are free to accept it or to reject it. But it is an example which can be a positive message and which has the legitimacy to bring in ideas and thoughts with the actual struggle and practice in the world of politics. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Ahmed? We can take a couple of questions if there are any questions, or we can. Yes, please go ahead.
Can you please inform us about the ongoing legal process, not just for Mr. Ghannouchi, but other political prisoners such as Mr. Ghannouchi or Farjani, or people from other currents as well, not just from Ennahda, also from Tayyar.
They are democratic.
Yes, so can you please inform us about what's going on and how do you see this process unfold within the near future?
Okay, what happened in the case for Ghazi Shawashi, Isam Shabi, Jawhar Mubarak Shayma, and Khayyam Turki, and Ridab al-Hajj. So Khayyam Turki has started like an initiative which gathers the widest spectrum of the political elite from, across the borders, ideological borders and political borders. And they have developed like the alternative meaning, constitutional path, the political path, and the legal and the economic path. CSID basically considered that they are conspiring against the state. Up to now they are in prison, but there is no actual legal case against them. They are just imprisoned. The dynamic of putting everybody in prison is growing. So today, as we are meeting here, there is a list, at least I think, of 30 other persons where there is an amalgam of everybody from the security forces, from the media, from political parties, and these are all being filled in the conspiracy case of Mr. CSID. But there is really no actual judiciary case which can stand in front of any judge. So when we speak about Said Furjani or Nudil Bhiri or Rached or Rached Ghannouchi, there is no actual case, no actual facts or deeds which they've done which justifies them being in prison, let alone being put in front of a judge.
How is he doing health-wise?
Well, I've just said that health-wise he's well. He's spending most of his time writing and reading, and he's quite optimist. He's not in a state of sadness or anything. Those who really, and I'm reporting about from those who are visiting him, he's like 3 times or 4 times a week. He's quite confident. And he keeps sending us positive messages that we need to, keep going. And when he hears that there is something like this, and thank Radwan, it really, not only him, all those who are in prison, it really helps, because someone who is in prison, when he hears that people are speaking about him, it gives him hope. And this is very important.
Any other questions? Thank you. Let's give Ahmed. Well, in closing, I don't want to hold you anymore because it's almost 6 o'clock, so we are more than half an hour behind. I want to thank all of you for coming to this conference. It's been a very, very beneficial. I learned a lot from the presentations. It's been a very rich program. Thank you, Dalia, for putting together the program with the program committee. Thank you to all the speakers who, I know some of them came from Turkey and Serbia and many other places, so long distances to come for this conference. Thank you all very much, and thank you for coming and for sharing your thoughts and your knowledge and experience with us. These are difficult days for democracy in the Arab world, in the Muslim world, but we have to keep fighting, and we have to believe that we are fighting for a good cause, that this cause will win, that there is no good alternative for democracy, that dictators are self-destructive. The best example for self-destructive dictators is CSID, actually. He's his own worst enemy. He doesn't have any friends in Tunisia, he doesn't have any friends outside of Tunisia. He's isolating himself more and more every day. He's making mistakes more and more every day. As Ahmed mentioned just today, they released 30 or 40 new names of people accusing of being in this conspiracy against CSID. And these 30 or 40 people actually don't have anything in common. How can they be in a conspiracy if they don't even talk to each other? So he's making enemies every day. So I predict that CSID will not last. I honestly believe that his days are numbered, maybe a few months, maybe another year, but I don't think much longer than that. But the harder question is what comes next after CSID. How can we put Tunisia back on the road to democracy, on the path to democracy, rather than another dictator or another military coup, which potentially could be a lot worse than CSID, another military takeover. So we have a lot of work to do. I believe that as American citizens, Arab Americans, Muslim Americans, or Americans who believe in democracy, we have a big role to play. We have a big role to play, as we heard today from all the presentations, especially in the morning, that the US foreign policy is not always aligned with our values, and what we do is not always aligned with what we say. You know, even our speech and rhetoric is not always what we actually implement in terms of policies. So we talk a lot about democracy, and we have these democracy summits and, you know, big things, but then in terms of implementation, we often contradict not only our own values, but our own rhetoric. It is our job to keep our representatives and our government accountable for their action or lack of action, for supporting democracy, not only in Tunisia, but across the Arab world, across the Muslim world. We have a lot of work to do. It's a big responsibility. It's a big responsibility, and we have to assume our responsibility. And I hope this conference is part of that, but I really hope that in the next few months we see more unity among the various people and the various organizations who believe in democracy. I think we are too divided or too spread out, or too everybody's busy with his own, you know, mission or his own goal, and we're not really working together enough to help ourselves and to succeed. So I hope that in the next few months we will see more unity of purpose and more unity of action and communicating our message. And as Ahmed said, you know, this message also is heard back in Tunisia or in Cairo or in all these countries, when they see that there are people like us who are helping them or who want to help them, who want to defend the cause. It really gives them strength, and it strengthens them. So again, thank you very much for coming. We hope to stay in touch. We hope to continue to work together to educate our policymakers and the public in general about Islam and democracy, about democracy in the Muslim world, but also to improve our foreign policy. Because at the end of the day, that's what really matters, is how can we change our foreign policy to really make a difference, and a positive difference for democracy in the region. So again, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to see all of you today. It's been a long day, but hopefully we will build on it, and we look forward to seeing you again. Ahmed, do you have any closing remarks you want to add?
Not really. I just want to amplify your voice in thanking everybody. I personally also found this conference to be extremely beneficial, and I think this is one of the very few venues that I am aware of where you can get so much information packed into one day. So rather than continue to extend the hours that you're actually present here, thank you again. Enjoy the evening and give us feedback.
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
we can solicit feedback from you and your suggestions for improving this conference. We hold this annually, so we're always looking for thoughtful suggestions from our audience on how to continuously improve. And become a member. Let's not forget we're also looking for contributions from people like yourself. Spread the word about the work we do and encourage people to become members of CSID.
How can we become members?
Just visit our website, CSID online,
Yeah.
and you will see the membership form there. And we hope you, if you're not already a member, that you will become a member. And we also plan to do seminars. You know, we did a lot of seminars on webinars, you know, virtually in the last few years. But hopefully now we can resume our normal schedule of doing seminars, especially here in Washington, at least one monthly seminar or something like that. So hopefully it's not just the annual conference. We have a lot of other activities that we plan to do together. So we need your help and we need your support. Dalia, any final words, comments? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Assalamu alaikum, and see you in the next annual.